I just feel like it's such an important message to young kids that, you know what, I'm a professional athlete and I have cellulite and I can't do shit about it.
Yeah.
And I need to own it. And for so long, I would never wear like a bathing suit. I would wear shorts because I was like, I gotta cover this.
I'm so there with you. Like, it's crazy, like you said, people look and you're like, Dawn, your body is, and I'm like, yeah, but when I tell you I was not wearing a belly top, and like you said, swimming, like I wore the shorts. Like I compete, you have not seen me in a uniform with the briefs. I wear boy shorts, because for me, it's a little too much showing. It's like, oh, my body, I shouldn't be. And then I wear the piece where it's the sleeves. Like, it's 2008 when I wore the sleeves. I was like, cover me as much as you possibly can. And they kept sending the wrong outfit, and I'm like, I'm not wearing it. Like, so I kept washing the same one. Like, until you send me more of this kind, and then as the career went on, then I'll wear the tank, but I'm still like boy shorts.
Because of the nature of the uniforms in track, like showing the girls is sometimes a route that people take. And I think that that's so interesting because we obviously, that's not necessarily something that's a part of our sport. You know, our jerseys are not flattering, they're jerseys, they shouldn't be. But we've had instances where, hey, what if we make the jerseys a little tighter, a little brighter, you know? And I'm just kind of like, but why?
But then, like you said, when you're discussing the uniforms, the things that you grow up and you're told time and time again that you start to really believe and see, and it gives you a issue. So for me, I'm well endowed up top, right? And for me, it was always the topic. As a kid, it was always the topic that Dawn has a chest. And so for me, instead of feeling like a woman hear me roar, it was, you know, it's like I kind of want a tighter sports where I need to kind of lock it down even more. And even at UCLA, it was, so I go from where my community used to joke, and then you think, oh, I'm gonna get outside that bubble and maybe it won't be so. Nope, UCLA, because it was that unusual.
The moment where I was like, okay, I'm down to kind of like be more comfortable with asking for what I want and like how I want things was when I did the body issue. I'm not gonna lie. And let me tell you, they asked me to do the body issue years before with my sister. It didn't end up working out. Come from a very conservative Nigerian family. So like no one was really on board for me doing it when they asked the second time. But I had several conversations with my family and I decided to do it. And it was probably the most liberating thing. Not obviously just because I was naked, but like it was something that I had decided to do, something that I was very proud of to be asked to do. I mean, it's amazing when you get to do it. It's such an artistic experience. You're comfortable in your own body. They interview you. And like, it's just celebrating your work, you know? Like your work
just like
in
your,
the physical
body.
form.
Like this
yeah.
It's interesting because like when I sit back and I think about the way the body issue used to make me feel, it was almost like everyone was so ripped in tone. It was almost like superhuman. And I'm like, shit, I'm not doing enough, or oof, I don't look like that.
Yep.
And it did create issues for me. And now we're in a place where I open the body issue and it's all different body types. I just feel like it's such an important message to young kids that, you know what, I'm a professional athlete and I have cellulite and I can't do shit about it.
Yeah.
And I need to own it. And for so long, I would never wear like a bathing suit. I would wear shorts because I was like, I gotta cover this. It's just body issue is such a massive topic in our sport.
Can we talk about hair though? Because I think people omit hair from body issues.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people realize how much we have to deal with when it comes to our hair. And people might think this is just a trivial thing. But, you know, we want to express our individuality, as you said. But then also, like, we want to be able to perform.
Right. Yeah.
And, like, speaking as a Black woman who's literally had weave, braids, I've had my hair out. It was always such a big deal when I wanted to wear my poof. Because people were like, whoa, we've never seen you with your hair out. And I'm like, well, it's because it's called a protective style, and I have to give them the history of it all. But then it's also like something.
You're like, do you have an hour? Like,
yeah, right.
I'll take, yeah.
But like, I feel as though like, even like with wanting to color your hair, even if wanting to wear your hair down and it's long, people make a big deal. Like, no, I like playing with my hair down. I have a teammate whose locks are like down to her waist and she likes to play with her hair down. And people are like, don't you want to tie that up? Like, no, she plays best when it's down, you know? And so like, you just see different types of hairstyles and it is an expression. Growing up, we had to style our hair based on our competitions. I couldn't have my hair a certain way because the leave out is gonna sweat out, you know? Or my braids, you know? You know what I'm saying? Like my braid, like the worst experience I ever had was when there was a braid on the court.
No.
And everybody was like, is that yours? And I'm like, first of all, it wasn't mine. It wasn't mine, but it was just such a big deal. I'm like, braids fall out.
When we play, like girls are defined by their hairstyle. Like
telling
I'll walk
you.
out there and if I have a ponytail, the fans are like,
What's wrong with her
she's
today?
feeling some type of way.
Right.
How is she gonna play? Is this like the alley that's gonna be like badass or the alley that's gonna be chill and calm? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and then
Like
if
it
my
changes
hair's,
you.
yeah, and I'm like, my hair's in a tight bun and they're like, she's ready for anything, like bring it on. And I'm like let me be.
Yeah.
People do not understand the struggle that women have and play at the highest level.
Yeah.
You talk about your menstrual cycle. Like, it's a topic that no one wants to talk about, but I'm like, you got a minute? You got some time? Let's talk.
Let me tell you, people don't think about that when we have to wear white uniforms. Like, that is anxiety outside of the cramps.
Right.
Like, you're so right. Oh, I'm sorry. I could go on and on about this. Like, this is.
You talked about how it made you feel uncomfortable wearing white and how it, how does it affect the body and, the things that we have to go through. I'm just curious for you to elaborate on that.
Well, like, I was privy to this when I was playing volleyball in high school, because never have I ever had to wear tiny little shorts, body hugging shorts, to play a sport.
Welcome to my world.
And yeah, you rock it. Man, I don't know how that, like, I just can't. And so like, that was when I was introduced to different ways of managing my cycle. It was just, there's always anxiety when you're like, oh my gosh, I got a game, cycle's about to start. And then as your career goes on, it gets into the like, which game is it gonna start on? Because you just wanna be completely on level 100. You don't wanna have to worry about anything else but playing the game. With that comes, okay, well, are we wearing the white jerseys? Are we wearing the red jerseys? And then there are times at Stanford when we're like, hey, am I good? I mean,
precautionary
I feel like
tampon.
everybody does that, like, hey, just, I'm gonna walk out and just check, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was an instance where like, I've had to change my shorts,
Absolutely.
I'm sure that happens to everybody because, whatever, it's just being a woman. And I that's something that a lot of people don't think about.
And they don't realize how much it actually affects you and your performance. Like, I'm very much so a player that is really affected by my menstruation cycle. And I go and I speak to my doctor and I'm like, I wait my whole life for this one game in a World Cup and I do not want to be on my cycle because I'm not at my peak performance.
Right.
What do you do? And they always are throwing birth control in my face.
Yeah, and that's a preference.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just, that's not you can't have everyone do it just because it's like easy or like, for me, like, I personally don't want to. That's just my personal opinion. Anyone can do it like they want, but like, why is that the answer? And there should be more sensitive conversation around it because every woman has to go through it. And like, even you speak about your experience this summer, because I don't eat meat and I was not taking an iron supplement. I was severely anemic this summer in the middle of the season. And it was made known to me during my cycle, naturally, because as you know, like, you're losing a lot. And so I didn't have enough iron in my blood and I was getting tired and like they had to put me on iron supplements. But that's something that people don't
get.
They're just like, oh, she's not feeling well.
And birth control is not always the answer because it does, like, change the feeling in your body. Like, I felt crazy on birth control when I was on it in college. 1 minute I'm here crying, 1 minute I'm fine and laughing, and people were like, is she good?
Right.
And I was gaining weight, and it was just this vicious cycle that I was like, I can't be on this and do what I need to do and function the way I need to function.
We would have like meetings before big tournaments. I don't know if you guys do the same, where the team would come in and our sports scientists would come in and kind of break it down for us and say, listen, these are the foods that will help, through that when you're going through your menstruation.
That's cool.
And so that was like really helpful as well. And like, kind of go on this app and like enter, all your information, and kind of it tells you like, kind of keeps you aware through that, like, however many day period, what to do, how to train, what to eat, like how to function, like how much sleep you should be getting. And like, it makes them aware, hey, maybe she's a little bit more tired today than normal, or,
That's really
kind of
good.
compare your scores.
Circling back to representation and like having all these male coaches, I think for so long, it's so hard to be like, I feel like shit, I woke up, I can't even stand up, I'm bleeding so much, I feel lightheaded. How am I gonna like tell my male coach that like, I just probably need to go lighter today?
Listen, I have heard coaches straight up say, look, it's something that everybody deals with. You need to get it together. Like, you got this workout.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not really how it goes. but in their mind, they feel so justified because like we just said, we gave them out. Everyone deals with it. So they're like, everyone deals with it. You should have figured it out by now. Why is it still an issue? And it's like, cause it is. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I am different. Like I have not, like you said, there's not as much information as we should have. So no, I have not ironed it out. Yes, I may know when I come up, but I don't know how to completely know how to deal with it.
Absolutely.
When this week of training is going to be hell.
Right.
You know what I mean? Type thing. Or like for me, it's both Olympics. I was like, this is great. Good job. You know what I mean? But for me, one thing that I told myself was, you've had to deal with this at practice. You've had to deal with it at practice. So it's like you mentally just try and tell yourself, you've been here before. Like you said, I'm a woman, it is what it is, let's go.
Yeah, that's always the mindset. And then it's also like breaking the stigma too.
Yes.
Like, oh, she's on her period.
Yeah.
Don't say anything crazy.
Right,
I'm just kind of like, no, like that makes me crazy when you treat me like that.
Yes.
Like, don't call me crazy.
Like you should say something crazy on the 1st or the 30th. It don't matter. Like don't say it. Like because that makes sense. It's that time. That's disrespectful no matter when.
Right. So yeah, it's breaking
so
those stigmas.
true.
Yeah.
If you think back in that, like all the education we get on understanding our body, menstruation is still lacking. We do not have very much information on it and how it affects us at the highest level, but yet all of us get it.
Right.
And all of us have to deal with it. So it's like, how is this still an issue, and why are we making it so taboo? And like, why aren't we really diving in and figuring out research on, what it does? I've heard laxicity in your joints at certain points of your cycle. Like we don't know enough about it, and we really should, because we all get it, and it comes in times when, we've got to be performing, and we can't change it unless we start putting different things in our body that affects us in different ways. So it is such a really important conversation. We got to keep driving that research, because it is something we all deal with and we all need to know more about and be okay to talk about it.
Typically, like, okay, Achilles, maybe a knee, hamstring, you see those in sports, right? So you can reach out and kind of ask a question. You can, when you have a baby, it's so foreign, and everyone's body reacts so differently. Like, I felt like my body wasn't mine anymore. Like, I felt like it had no value. I felt it just wasn't the same.
It would be interesting too to know, Dawn, like, cause we play against a lot of mothers, and we always say like, you don't know the strength of a player until that player's had a baby. But like, I would like to know too, because I have a teammate on my team, Candace, and she was saying like, compared to like giving birth and like having an injury, giving birth, snapping back from that, it's like a different type of level that you have to reach to get back to that high performance. So like, I just want to know from your perspective, like, what has that been like?
I think when she says it's a different level that you have to reach, the reason why it's a different level is because for me, you're so in the dark, and only thing you do have is that grit and that grind that you have from before of like, you don't know if you're gonna make it in your sport, right? I just want to be the best. I want to play on the field. I want to play on the court. That's all you have to relate. Is like, I know I'm strong. Mm-hmm. I know that when I want something, I do my own research. I will figure it out. But other than that, like, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
It's such an unknown.
There's no reference.
There's none. And so like the friends that you do even ask, she came back in that time, but then you talk to somebody else and they're like, girl, not me. And you're like, dang, I can't relate to neither one of y'all, you know? Right. And so that's the part that's hard. But I will say though, it does give you also another strength, obviously, to look at your daughter or your child and say, I need you to understand it's possible. It's not easy because you stayed up all night and I'm extremely tired and you didn't want to eat your dinner last night. So I need you, but I need you to understand it's possible.
It's incredible. What do you guys feel about the topic? Have you thought about having kids? Like, are you worried about the financial aspect of having to stop for maybe a year, at least?
Yeah, so
10
like
months?
it's tough because like I talk about this with a lot of people, and I guess for me, I've tried to eliminate that of all the stressors of trying to decide to have a kid. Like I've tried to eliminate the stressor of the money by saying I'm going to do it after I retire, but plans change, like things happen. And to be honest, it's hard because we make money with our bodies, you know, and as we negotiate this new CBA, it's really shed a light on the lack of resources that we have for the mothers, expecting mothers, planning mothers, or current mothers, you know?
So if you, in the WNBA, if you were to get pregnant, they literally title it as a suspension without pay.
Yeah, and then
Like you've done something wrong.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of times you find out that the women in the WNBA are pregnant after the season because they choose not to tell anyone during.
Right.
Yeah, so like Skylar was pregnant most of the season, Bria Hartley, Dearica Hamby. Like a lot of these women were pregnant during the season. I think Dearica Hamby though, she, it got to a point where the doctor said, you cannot keep playing.
And Bria was the same.
Bria was the same. They said, you cannot keep playing because it's not okay,
But
you
like
know?
suspended is such a hard word.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
even
like,
if they're currently active, and then they're like, okay, I'm pregnant, I can no longer do this. It literally just from that day stops.
The money stops, so that's what we're working on, obviously.
I mean,
But
it's so wild.
yeah, it's really crazy. It's really crazy, and it's like I was gonna say that when you were talking, I was like, this conversation, it's shedding light on the stigmas around pregnancy because it's treated almost like worse than an injury. For me, like I've tried to educate a lot of the players in our league about the opportunities that we're fighting for. I've also tried to expand my own awareness about the resources that are currently available because we even have issues now where mothers are saying that they don't have resources to, you know, mental health after because postpartum is a real thing. You know, along with the anxiety that we already have as professional athletes, postpartum is serious. If you tie that onto playing at a professional level, it's a whole lot.
But that's
Yeah.
another issue. You just said you're not gonna pay us when we're pregnant.
Yeah.
But like, that's crazy to me that if you're still playing in your sport and you decide to have a child, that you're not taken care of. Like, that doesn't make sense.
No.
So for me, what really baffles me in this topic is, so like you said, I'm competing now. I'm the athlete, I'm competing. I get pregnant. And if you know that I'm serious about my craft and I'm doing, you know, little things that I need to work out, little things, you know, during my pregnancy to ensure that I'm giving myself the best chance of coming back, why wouldn't you support me through that? Because if you have someone such as us that has dedicated their lives to this, and you know, when I get pregnant, like for me, when I got pregnant, I trained through my whole pregnancy. Now, the thing is for me, I made an announcement I was going to retire. I had this whole thing for me that when I was going to have a child, I needed to be done with the sport because the type of mother I wanted to be there, these certain things. And I never thought I was going to be 34 when I had my first, never. Like to me, I was like, that is so old. Like, who does that? You know, I just never thought. But then I wanted to continue to compete. And so it pushed the age back and it pushed it back. Once I had my daughter, I realized, but mama still has that urge to, like, I want to compete.
Right.
Why am I choosing? Like, I'm actually doing this to myself. I'm actually giving the companies what they want of just walking away when I'm like, I didn't have to because I'm still good. I'm still kicking butt, you know? And so I did the things, and I know many mothers do. They do what they need to do while they're pregnant to ensure that coming back, they'll be in the best shape they can be. You still don't know. Why wouldn't you support? Like, I don't understand because it's not like every single person in the WNBA is like, we all getting pregnant this year and they're gonna have to pay us. Like, that I can understand you putting like, okay, no one else can do this again because we just paid so-and-so women. But that's not happening. You have two women like on a roster that's pregnant and they're just like, this is killing us, you know, this margin.
Right.
It's not. It's not like, then it just turns into, you can't say you care about your players. You cannot say that you genuinely, they're like, all these slogans that they have, be the best you, blah, 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 blah. Just do all these slogans of being a better you and growing, and we need our young women and young men to know. You can't, because when I'm here, where you telling them to grow to be, you cut them off at the knees.
Right.
Like, it's really time to put up and shut up, and I love that now they have put up, put those clauses in the contracts, but we had to put our foot on their necks.
I'm curious to talk to you, Stewie, about freezing your eggs, because I know that's something that you've done recently, and it's a topic we haven't talked about, and nor do we talk about. And if I would have known this, my 25-year-old self, I would have probably done the same thing you did.
I froze my eggs in October, and it's actually a 2-week process, but it's something that while you're doing it, you need to kind of be not strenuous. Mm-hmm. So the doctor was like, no strenuous activities. And I'm like, well, my strenuous is different than your strenuous. So like,
exactly.
I need to better mine.
What does that mean?
But it was basically like, while I'm out, I wanted to be able to kind of plan a little bit more for the future. Obviously, just have the option of if and when I want to have a baby, like my eggs are ready for me and they're my 25-year-old eggs, because as we talked about and as you guys all know, like our sport is time consuming.
Yes.
And as female basketball players, we're playing in the WNBA, overseas, you throw in the Olympics, World Cup, like all of it. Like, how do you make time to have a baby? Like, you don't. So it just has to be more of a planned process. And then I went to the doctor and she kind of told me, like, this is a perfect opportunity because, this is when your eggs are healthiest and that type of thing. And then you have it for later. But like the actual process of it, like injecting yourself with needles every night and like, getting your blood tested and like going in and getting monitored, because like the egg follicles, let's see if I get all my terminology right. Like the egg follicles have to grow. So then they're big enough to kind of be taken out, because you have to go under to get the eggs removed and that type of thing. But next thing you know, I have like a shit ton of eggs frozen.
Yeah. Shout out to all the moms out there still training and playing at a high level. Like, I respect you so much, because I don't know how y'all do it. And we have a couple teammates that we've been through, or a handful of teammates throughout the years that have had kids and came back, and they've even been better than when they were before. And I'm just like, I don't know how you guys do it, but I mean, you're crushing it and you look great, and after coming home from a day of training, I just don't know how they then have to go take care of your child.
Look, I'm sitting there like, it is hard, because
I want to ask you, how do you...
The thing is, when I competed, it is very different from before till now, because beforehand, I am detailed. I wake up at this time, I eat at this, I have this, I literally write down kind of like almost to a T, the way I'll get out the door, when I'm at practice, everything. And then when I got back, I'm laying down around this time because I've taken my, my lunch and all these things with the child. Listen, it is amazing. So during the day when I don't have practice, I have a set schedule for her. She's so good, like napping. Literally time for a nap. Yeah. But when mommy's done with practice, the family is everything though. Like, I'm serious. It wouldn't be even a kind of an idea if I did not have the family support that I have. But when I get done and I have to go and pick her up and she's napped with them, and now she's awake with me, and I'm like, why are you bouncing around? I really need you to go to sleep because mommy has no legs. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, it is like sometimes you sit there and you're just like, if you could just stay in this area for me so I can watch you from here. No, like, I'm gonna sit right, please don't. I'm like, oh, I can't see, oh God, I can't see her. So you gotta get up, because it's almost impossible for it to be as much rest as I was getting before. Like, I went to bed at 9:30 and woke up at like 8 o'clock. I didn't play, like, I legit was, now, my daughter doesn't care about any of that. It's amazing what you realize you can survive off of, if you will, and then you realize like, okay, I am fine. I just was like, I like to rest for 3 hours and that's it. I want her to see her mom and say, my mom didn't feel like she had me, so everything else in life had to stop. And so I want her to know that she can be on my hip and I can go and kill it and get another gold medal,
But this is not even talking about, you're talking about no sleep, but let's talk about like breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And like, our teammate, Sydney LaRue, just had a baby, and I walk in the morning before training, and she's either
in a meeting too.
With the baby, breastfeeding or pumping, so she can just get out there and not leak.
literally leaking.
Yeah,
It's
and
not fun.
It's so crazy.
So for me, literally right before I would leave the house, sometimes I would be in the car pumping right before I get out to go practice, because there's a window. So literally by the end of my practice, I'm like, oh, like, okay, let's get to the car. Oh, like I'm doing my last set, like, you know, and just knowing you're on a clock. And then a month after I had my daughter, I went to continue training. And so I'm doing all this with swollen, uncomfortable chest. Shirts don't fit the same. So my practices, I'm in like these my husband's like oversized, you know, like t-shirts trying to work out. But the things that you do and you say are okay, like I had to make do. Like I know that physically I have to get back on the track. There's not an option. If you're trying to run, your competitors are running right now and they didn't have a baby. So you cannot care about breastfeeding. You have to get it done, suck it up, and then.
It's funny because I continue to circle back to Serena, but you, as you know, she's clearly ticked off every box of going through it all.
Oh my gosh, right.
And what drives me nuts is our culture, our society within sport and outside views us women, once you have children, they almost count you out.
Oh, not almost. They do.
They do.
They do.
I'm trying to
yeah,
be.
Yeah, you're trying to be nice. I get it, girl.
So when I think back to Serena being ranked number 1 in the world, having a child, and then all of a sudden she's ranked what was it? Like it was super low.
Yeah.
And it's like, what, just because she got pregnant, she's not good now?
Yeah.
Is that how?
Yeah.
Is that how we're gonna treat her?
That's a perfect example of like you said, a representation of how they really see us. Like that was a perfect example. But wasn't it amazing for her to show once again? She's like, serious. I feel like as women, like in the sport, we've been put in this position so many times where it's like, all right, you putting me here. It's one of those like, look, it is what it is. Let me just go and kill it. Like how many times have we just accept, like not wanting to, but if that's your reality, that's where you have me, okay. Like because think about what was she gonna do? Her complaining wasn't gonna change.
Right.
It was where her. So she's like, I just gotta go out and whoop on some people. Like I just have to go out and take hearts. I have to just snatch dreams once again, and that's what she did.
I think it's ironic because I've played against mothers, and that's the type of strength that you cannot describe.
Right.
You can't describe that type of strength. I've had a mom post up on me. What?
It's such a challenging time because you have all these expectations and you are trying to get back and you're trying to, it's this false type of place you live in because your body just went through heavy, heavy trauma. It's literally moving and changing and reconnecting. And you said you came back in a month and started training again?
Yeah, we need to get this thing going. And so when I did, what I will say is I noticed in my body, I forgot who I was talking to earlier about this, being so used to, as athletes, we know our bodies. We know when we call on it, it's gonna perform in this way, and when it doesn't, we're like, okay, something's off. Maybe I'm just a little weak here or fatigue or whatever. I just remember thinking, wanting to kind of do a faster stride, just kind of hit it off the line. And my hips were you could tell they were like, we literally just relaxed for a baby to go. Like, will you just ease up for 2 seconds? And for me, mentally, that was so hard to accept because I'm like, no, when I say go, you go.
Right.
And nobody's like, no, when you have a baby, you have a baby. Like I had to accept that. So it was really hard to just say the female body can still only do so much in a certain amount of time. And I had to respect that.
So how old is your child now?
She's 8 months
She's
today.
8 months today.
Yeah. The hardest challenge is, because I was talking to my husband about this the other day, the hardest challenge is accepting a new schedule, really accepting when going towards an Olympic gold that it looks different this time. Mentally, that's really hard to still believe you're putting in the right type of work.
Have you thought about having kids? At what part in your career does it actually make sense?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel completely at ease if I wanted to have a baby today. Not just because of the resources that aren't available, but just because of the shelf life of what we do. I just, with basketball, how does it change your life? This is my first year not playing overseas in 8 years. And that means that this is my first year not playing 12 months out of the year. I've already missed so much. I've missed I was supposed to be in 4 weddings. I've missed those, And I've missed baptisms, births, all that type of stuff. because of everything that I've missed, I almost feel as though I need to catch up on all those things first before I can now start deciding, okay, when do I want to start a family and stuff like that. But the answer would be no. I'm not gonna lie, like the answer would be no. I don't feel at ease to like have a baby right now.
What about you guys?
I can respect that. I can totally see that. For us, yeah, like I could envision myself having a kid now, just because I've accomplished a lot that I've wanted to accomplish in my job, and I would be willing to then, I wouldn't say sacrifice, because I feel like these sacrifices that we say are sacrifices are actually choices that we make. So I don't really want to look at it as like a negative, but it would be a choice, and it would be a positive one, just because I'm an older veteran player. So if it were to happen, then yeah, like, not that it would be a surprise, like it would actually have to be planned for us. It wouldn't be like, let's hope so. Like, it would be like, oops, I'm pregnant,
Like what?
What?
Wait, what? So I feel like we're in like a different, weird, like, have a seat, I don't know. So, but I think I would be more open to it, or we would be more open to it, just because, it's been on our radar for a while. But yeah, we're also in a different part of our career, I think. So I think that all depends on like where you're at.
I think it's going to be very challenging for Ali and I to be married on the same team and bring a child into this world.
That's so unique.
It's super unique.
unique.
And I don't know, of anyone who's a current player doing it, and I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how that makes sense.
You creating your own, girl. You just creating your own narrative over and over and over, superhero and over
Thanks,
again.
boo.
But I also think like we've talked about adoption as well. So like we spoke about this earlier about like maybe adopting first so that you can continue to play, and then choose to then have kids after.
It's so hard because like I have this vision of having a child while I'm playing, because I surround myself amongst such incredible, impactful women who are paving the way for change. And it's something I want my children to see, to feel, to be a part of. So it helps them as they grow, and they don't have the same issues I did with feeling confident in who I was, and body image problems, and trying to feel like I'm enough. And I want that for my kids so bad, because it is a once in a lifetime opportunity that we have sitting here amongst such incredible people and females. And that would be such a great gift to give to my children so they could see that and feel it.
Well, let me say this. Because of like just being around you guys today, and just hearing you talk and just seeing your passion and like your drive and your care for this, you're going to give that to your kids whether you're competing or not, like when you have them. You know what I mean? Like that's who you guys are. That's what you ooze, And so like that love, you guys are going to surround them with it every day. The people that that love and care for you, that's going to be their village if you're still playing or whether you're not. You know what I mean? Like that's who you have around. Like you guys were saying, they're going to get that love regardless.
All right, so our next topic is one that I'm like really, really into, so I'm so excited to talk about it, and it's mental health. Huge part of the society we live in now. And I love the fact that so many players are starting to speak out about mental health. I'm curious about the importance in your sport for you individually. Is this something that you value, you think should be implemented into new CBA contracts? I know the NBA just put on retainer mental health therapists and people to reach out to, which was so major. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the NBA, that's awesome that they have a mental health professional available for each team. That is not the case for us. But we've had a lot of great players come out and speak about mental health. And it's not just physical health, but mental health is a very big part of that. Most notably and most recently, Liz Cambage, she came out and had a really good, I think it was a TPT piece actually on mental health, which was pretty awesome. But right now, it's not a priority for us, but we're working to change that. If we were to look at teams now, it's kind of your team either has it or it doesn't. You know, like you're not really made aware of it, but there's some teams like New York and Minnesota, they have great resources for that. And I think it kind of plays into us as we negotiate this CBA with creating a standard that every team must adhere to, especially when it comes to health resources, because focus is huge.
Huge.
Well, I know in track and field, when we travel to our championship teams, whether it's world champs or the Olympics, we have a sports psychologist that travels with us. And it's very beneficial, but then it's hard because that's really the only times that we really get to see them. And so it's hard for people to open up, you know, to them. My major was psychology, so I'm really into like, okay, why do you do what you do, you know? And so, you know, trying to get people to really kind of drop their guard at those moments, because when you go to a world champs or an Olympics, like, you got a lot going. You know what I mean? Mentally, your brain is going the whole, so even when you're sleeping, you're really like, okay, so I gotta cross the hurdle. You know what I mean? You're constantly thinking. And so I remember earlier in my career, my coach told me I was supposed to win this huge race and I didn't. I ended up hitting a hurdle. Like I was like, but I lost. Like, what am I supposed, no, I was really like, what am I supposed to do with my life now? And I remember crying, and I came to him and he was hugging me and he said, if you take your losses this hard, you'll never make it in track and field. And I realized mentally, like I was taking myself through, like I made it seem like this was life or death, whether I lost, you know, won or lost this race. And really just realizing like mentally that wasn't healthy. Like you can't do that. Like obviously enjoy those wins because you know you worked hard. But if you don't, that doesn't define you.
And I think also like you touched on a good point too when it comes to like the stigma of talking to a therapist. Because a lot, I mean, like outside of being in sports, you know, like in the Black community, it's like,
listen,
pray about it.
Yep.
You know, like,
Yep,
so
you gotta
like
trust God.
that on top of being an athlete, and then now we're all women as well, and we're emotional. So it's like, oh, of course he wants to talk to a therapist, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then you're thinking about like, okay, well, what are my teammates gonna think if if they know that I'm talking to a therapist, they're gonna think that I'm not focused. And then like, I'm even thinking back to like there was a year when I was like on it, like I was performing at a high level, but like I was going through personal things that I looking back now, I needed to talk to somebody, but no one would have known because, oh, she's playing well, everything's cool.
Yep.
Like even with us, like we balance so much that mental health, a lot of times it's either has to do with like the stressors that we're enduring on the field, on the track, you know, on the court, or there's just personal things you're going through that you need to talk to somebody about that has nothing to do with
it's just
running.
life.
Yeah, it just has to do with life.
Yeah.
And so like, you make a great point. Like there's even stigmas around talking to a therapist. And it's funny how like the NBA, we have, you know, once Kevin Love comes out and says stuff about mental health, we have mental health professionals on retainer now because a guy came out and said it. You know, but I'm sure that there have been women that are like, is there a psychologist on hand? Is there a psychiatrist that the team has hired that, you know, gives us an opportunity to at least just speak about things cathartically? Like a lot of times if you just let it out, that's all you need. And granted, like I'm tight with some of my teammates, but like, it's different when you're telling a teammate something, you know?
Compared to
or even
someone
a
who
coach.
doesn't know you from
It's
anything.
nice to have a stranger just
I was like super intimidated about going to see a therapist because I'm like, I don't want to lay on the couch and like go like this and like have to like spill out all my feelings,
Right.
you know? Because I'm like, at the end of the day, like I'm fine. Like I'm fine and like these are my things. But after I ruptured my Achilles, when I went from like my highest high to like lowest low, I went and talked to someone, and he was cool. It was normal. Like, we just talked about whatever.
Yeah.
I think the purpose is to give you the tools to navigate life. That is it. That is the key thing here. It's like when topics in life become so heavy that you can't carry it, it's like someone gives you insight how to distribute it and how to navigate it, and then you just see things so clear. And for me, I don't want something bad to happen to one of our female athletes before we're like, we gotta get moving on this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's how things usually work. Something bad has to happen.
Absolutely.
And the pressure gets to someone, and then it's like, now we need to create change. No, let's be on top of that, because we do live in an environment where everything we do is criticized, or everything is seen, everything is out there on social media. And it's heavy and it's hard and there's so much pressure.
And I think people at our level, like, we are human at the end of the day, and that's what's most important. And I think that, you know, with fans and supporters and, you know, other people kind of looking from the outside in, Ash and I talk about this all the time, that it's not always rainbows and butterflies and unicorns and, like, this whole magical experience in life. It's like, there are hardships. We go through shit, and we have a tough time mentally, emotionally, physically. It's just people don't see that side all the time.
Right.
And I've been talking to a professional therapist for like off and on for some years now. And it's taken me a long time to be okay with not being okay most times. You know, like, it's okay for me to accept that some days aren't gonna be great. I also feel like it should be covered, if you're an athlete, it should be covered by insurance. I feel like I called to, you know, ask if it is covered, if you just like send then the invoices that you receive, you know, and you pay for it on your own. I was just wanting to ask, like, listen, can I send these in so that I get part of it covered? You know, because it is therapy. It's just like similar as physical therapy, really. But they said no. And they said only these 6 therapists who we provide, on like Team USA, for example, and it would be just phone conversations. And I said, well, what about one in Orlando? Like, we need somebody here. And so it was just a bit of a shock to me that you kind of had to choose between these people that you had no idea who they were, what they were about, or like, you know. And I hope that changes in the future.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone's going through something. But like for me, like, I know, like, there's times when I can lose my mind in like a second. Example, I'm gonna talk about my leg, but that's a lot of the things I've been going through. I just started walking, like, this is way long time ago. I started walking in 2 shoes. And like, it was too much and my leg got swollen. And I went back in the boot. Simple, easy things. Like, I was in the boot for 3 days. But like, I'm like, well, now I'm not gonna
Yeah. You're like, if I
be
can't
back
walk
to
in
what I
2
was,
boots,
now
how
I
can
can't
I?
walk, now I can't do this and that and that and that, and now I can't play in January.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that everyone can attest to this, like, when you step on the field, when you step on the track, when you step on the court, it's like, ugh, what else matters, you know? And so, like, I was in a time where, like, I was having like anxiety off the court. And so my teammates could tell that there was something wrong with me, but because I was performing and they saw that it was like my escape, it was almost kind of like, you know what? If that's what it takes for her to find a space, then let's just do that. And we're not gonna, it's not to say that they weren't gonna ask what's wrong with me, because they were like, you know, are you okay? Like, indirectly, of course. But I really felt like I was like recluse and just on my own. When I wasn't on the court, I wasn't hanging out with them. I was in my room. I was just watching my shows. I was like on my own. And it's odd because it's like different, I guess you could say, like, instead of experiencing the anxiety during your performance, but it was almost as though like I would start getting anxiety when practice would end, you know? Like, I would like want to be in the gym just so that I wouldn't have to face the reality of being off the court, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I will say though that like mental health, now that I think about it, mental health really played a role when I was overseas, because you're by yourself.
Yeah, you have to.
You're by yourself, like for 8 months. And then
11-hour time difference.
11-hour time difference. So when you are talking to anybody, it's early in the morning or you're staying up.
It's not meant for everybody. Like,
It's
playing
not meant
overseas
for
is not meant
everybody. Like, you
Yeah,
can
like,
really go crazy. And then like if you're in a place like China where literally the only person that speaks English is your translator, like your teammates don't speak English, your coach doesn't speak English. Your translator is literally like on the side, like, coach said to score. You know, like, you're like,
no shit.
yeah.
Oh, so that's what I'm supposed to do?
Do you think mental health is like a topic that's like most prominent among high professional athletes? You know what I mean? Like, is it something that's super sensitive in sports compared to in normal life?
I think they just assume we're focused because of what we do, you know? Like, to kind of answer your question, like, I think that it makes more sense to talk about mental health in a lot of ways to people who aren't athletes, because they watch what we do and they're like, oh, she focused, she know what she's doing. But then On the other side of it, it's like, no, we need the resources because of how much focus it requires for us to do what we do. And so, kind of to answer your question, Stu, it's like, I can't say that it's a priority for anyone really, but I think that people talking about it is shedding light on how important it actually is, you know? But for the longest, I mean, sport or no sport, mental health has always been a stigma in society, at least in our society. And it's slowly starting not to be. But especially in sport now, we're just like, that's a part of, you know, that's a part of what we need. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you talk about, you know, speaking out. And a lot of things have become relevant within that sphere. Talk about system abuse. You see the USA Gymnastics going through what they had to go through with Larry Nassar, and you know, look at, you know, Mary Kane and how that has impacted these young women, and they are now just speaking out about it.
Yeah, I think to me, the first thing that comes to mind is the reason that these types of things could go on for so long is because you're in your bubble and you're not supposed to talk about what's going on outside your bubble. So no one wants to talk about what's going on. And then when you think of, you know, what's going on with like a Mary Kane, when she entered into the program, she's thinking, I'm entering into the best. Of course, we're going to have secrets that no one else knows. Of course, we're going to do cutting edge things that no one else is going to know about. Not only am I, like 18, 19 years old, so I'm entering into this system, these gymnasts are entering into this system, they're like, this is how it's been going for forever. I'm supposed to follow suit, correct? I'm a child, I do as I'm told, because I know Mary Kane was saying, for the head coach, she saw him as like, kind of like a father figure. You don't tell your daddy no, and if your father has created all these other amazing athletes, once again, you follow suit, you know, as long as you could until, like she even said, her body started to break down. She broke bones because, you know, trying to feed these certain requirements of weight and diets that she said no nutritionist really told her. It was just something he came up with. So she didn't have a cycle for 3 years. Like I said, broke 5 bones. You know, these are types of things that you're not gonna tell anybody because maybe it's just me and my body can't handle it. Maybe I need to step up. Maybe I'm not doing everything he told me. You know, the things that we tell ourselves to be the best.
Yeah. But it's also a trust thing.
100%, it's father figure.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I learned is like, it just takes one person.
Yes.
So like, obviously, the Me Too movement, like I came out with my story with TPT because that started coming about with the USA Gymnastics. And you kind of just don't realize like how, like I remember where I was. I was in China, it was 2017. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna release like my story. Like people are talking about things that are happening to them and like people need to know. And like people need to know for athletes, for young athletes, for kids going through it now, for people going through it. And it's like, it's hard because as you were saying, like when you're younger, you don't know. You don't know this is bad until then you look back and you're like, okay, these are bad things. But if you talk about them, you bring them up. Like I can't tell you how many times that following season, like people came up to me and were like, you helped save my life. Like, and like for people to realize like, I am touchable. Like I am a real person, you know? And like we are very similar at the end of the day.
And I think people at our level, like, we are human at the end of the day, and that's what's most important.
I genuinely believe what separates the good from the great is from your neck up, your mental space, your head space.
Absolutely.
And I have seen people crumble and be eaten up by the culture and the pressure and being in the spotlight and falling short and failure because they weren't open to get the tools to succeed.
Right.
And it's sad to me to see that because you can't just work on your athletic ability. That you're missing a key component. Are you working on your mental ability? What is your headspace?
Yes.
And you can't neglect that. So what's next? What's next for women in sports, and you know, where's the future? Where do we want to continue, you know, this path of creating change and activism?
Well, I know I want to get the CBA done. Like that's what I want, and I wanted to get it done right. So in the near future, that's what I see. is a CBA that reflects what the players want. It reflects our value, and it potentiates it as well. I do want to kind of, get the ball rolling for us speaking our values, speaking up for what we want, deserve.
That's my girl. There we go.
And just really creating monumental change in that regard, not just for the WNBA, but obviously for everybody. And I just really want it to be reflected in this agreement. I really, really want that. And then, we can just continue to do this. We can continue to have these types of conversations, especially because in this CBA, it goes on for years. And so we can't think that we've, solved the Rubik's Cube once we sign it or once we agree to it. These conversations have to stay alive in order for the movement to continue, You can't settle. You can't just be grateful for what they claim that you need to be grateful for. So my personal legacy, I'm hoping, will be reflected in this next CBA.
Yeah. But I have one interesting thing that just gets left behind. We always talk about women supporting women, but what role does the men play in this?
I don't think any of the NBA players are like, we don't like the WNBA. You know what I mean? Like, I've never come across any of them who are like, we don't support you, but I think what they don't do is they don't support us enough where everyone can see it. Like, I'm very happy if you're watching our game on the app, right? But like, let everyone know you're watching the game. Come to the game. Come to the games more often. And like, I think the thing with men is like, Megan said it when she kind of went after Messi and all of them. Like, they need to be the ones standing up too, and like stand up for the women, because as women we can only try so hard, but we're still 50% of the population.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, we can't now turn it into like, we can't depend on them. Like, no, but the reality is that that's where our credibility can really take a bump, And Stu is right. Like, the way that I see it as we've gone through these negotiations is that the ones that aren't fans, we need to turn into fans. The ones that are fans, we need to turn into investors. And so that's kind of what it is with our men in the NBA. A lot of them watch us and they say, we support because I watch. Okay, yeah, but put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
Because there are opportunities for the men to invest. And you need to take that type of action if you say that you do bet on women, We're in a position now where we can call people out. Obviously Megan's doing that. But I do think that we can.
I know. I was like, ooh.
She definitely did that. Yeah.
Even these male athletes, they have daughters, or they're gonna have future daughters, and it's like, you have to want to support them. It's not about just supporting us. It's about also like, giving them that path as well to be like, listen, like, this is what they're doing and what they're making and what they deserve, and like, you can be that. And I just feel like, I don't know, it can't be unseen, because I feel like a lot of our male players, they have daughters who love the national team, obviously, and play soccer. And there's so many dads who bring them to the games, and it's nice to see the men supporting the women and supporting their kids. And we need more of that.
Yeah.
And especially the male athletes, they need to step up.
And it's interesting too that you say that, because I've seen a change in certain NBA players when their daughters start playing basketball.
Sure.
All of a sudden it's like, yeah, what are you guys dealing with? And I'm like, yeah, because the reality is that you have daughters that are playing.
Well, it wasn't their reality, and now it is.
Exactly. And then also, to speak to your point as well, so your daughter is the young girl who has a dad who's in the NBA. She's being exposed to your treatment.
Right.
Not to ours. And so if you tell her it's okay to be a basketball player, you need to do your research and see exactly what we are going through as female athletes, because it is not anywhere close to what you guys are experiencing. It's not anywhere close to what she is experiencing.
So what can you do?
So what can you do about changing that? And if that's what it takes.
They can do a lot, really.
I know before you spoke about Megan Rapinoe, and really, she has been very outspoken. Why do you think, using your platform and being an activist, whether for social change or equity, political change. Why is using your platform so important as female athletes?
You have to, because you can help move this needle. Like, you can help move it. 10 people with 100 followers saying something, one Megan saying something, totally different. People are going to listen. They're going to say, you know what, she's experienced things. She gets it. Like, there's so many things that she can connect to that when she speaks, people are like, okay, wait, let's see what she's saying, though. Let's see what she's saying. Someone else that can maybe say, she's being prejudiced, or she's, looking through this little... She's talking to people that actually make decisions, and that's really who we need to listen.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's important when people on that certain platform speak. You're actually speaking to the people that are signing checks, actually putting in clauses.
Yeah, maybe 10 people with 100 followers doesn't matter, but Megan might have 10,000 people with 100 followers who now follow her.
Exactly.
And now it's like, oh my gosh, this is just permeating. You know, we are creating awareness in that way, and that's where the platform really lies. Like, she's both affecting the corporate level people, and then she's also affecting the average Joe, the 10,000 average Joes that are following her. And so you're reaching different levels in different ways. And that's why I always, Charles Barkley said it, like, I'm not a role model. I'm like, you are, you know? You can be a bad role model.
It's
like,
a cop,
you know what I'm saying?
It's a cop-out to me.
Yeah, you
It's
can be a bad
cop-out to
role
me.
model.
Yeah.
But like, at the end of the day, you can't help that someone knows who you are. You know, like, you can't. It's amazing that someone does, you know? Like, you guys have done some amazing things. You two have done amazing things. Whether you like it or not, there's gonna be people out there that are trying to emulate you. So you might as well give them the ride of their life. You know, you might as well set an example. And I guess that's kind of where I've found myself now, because I'm not gonna lie, I did not want to be president. I did not. I ran unopposed. No one wants the job. Like, I'm telling you.
And now you're like, keep up.
And now I'm just kind of like,
She's like, I am
what?
here.
I'm actually
Move.
you know what?
really
I'm like,
good at this.
Use
like,
me.
let me just do this. So, like, it wasn't something that I wanted to do. You can ask my sister, like, I was always let me come in, do my job. Like, they always joked around, like, Nneka, like, she be getting buckets, but she's swagless. Like, she just gets the bucket, runs back on defense. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've never been, but I've slowly let myself out, because I realized not only can I not help that people are following me, but I have discovered some amazing people because I decided to be who I am. You know what I'm saying? And so that role model stuff, that's BS. I think that is BS in my opinion.
Even like, for me, when I surround myself with people like yourselves, I want to be better, and it inspires me to be better. It gives me purpose, and it almost like sets off alarms inside me that gives me the strength to be myself, to find my inner voice. And I think so often we talk about moving the younger generation, but when I hear you talk, when I hear you guys, you know, you move me. Right. And I think we don't value that enough. And when you stand for something that is important, you're bringing everyone else along with you to give them the freedom and the strength to speak their truth. Right. And I think that is so massive and so important, and we don't talk about that enough. So I want to thank you all for being such important, impactful women in my life here today, and continuing to inspire myself, older, younger generations, to continue to push the needle and to continue to drive change in this culture for women to be a part of. And, you know, hopeful that the men see this and want to be a part of it and help us, you know, change this world to a better place for our younger, you know, girls. And I just think it's so major, and I'm so grateful to be here with you all. And I just keep kicking ass and keep speaking your truth and keep trying to change the culture of the women's game.